Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast, your top automotive refinishing podcast with your hosts, Cory Kleinfeldt
and Ryan Brewer. Enjoy the show, everyone.
Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast. Today on the podcast, it is Ryan Brewer and myself.
Let's go.
I just heard that ding there. It sounded like the recording went off a little late. Today we're going to talk about several things, but where we're going to start is we're going to start with talking about what Ryan is doing new with his business. And just to preempt that, for the last couple of years, we have interviewed RestorFX centers, we have brought on corporate RestorFX, we have talked about our numbers, we've talked about all that stuff today. We've got other people's opinions, but today we're going to share with you guys what we're doing. I know a lot of you guys follow us or have followed us and are curious about what we're doing, and we get a lot of questions about that. So that's where we're going to start, and we're going to go from there. So, Ryan,
yes,
what are you doing today, sir? I know you're not just fixing dings.
Always talk about growth. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get these headphones.
Yeah, your headphones are messed up.
Nope, gotcha. Yep. So we've always talked about growth. Obviously, we've tried it. We've heard from all the other podcasts. Like, I've done everything in the recon industry, and I feel like we've kind of picked what we wanted, and we stuck with the dents and the RestorFX for, I think, 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely dabbled in between that, just kind of see what fits. I think the podcast has definitely helped me a lot, myself, just trying to figure out what services, just from talking to other people. And where we went with that. So we're coming up with, I'm not going to release the name yet, just because we've already had some issues with domains and stuff like that. So
yeah, true.
somebody already stole my domain and put it up for sale for $100,000. So we're trying to.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's kind of shitty.
Oh my God, dude.
So RestorFX, I love the product, love the services. Dents, obviously, we all love that. We do it. But it's between dents and RestorFX. I think you're kind of on the same scale now, Cory. The amount of cars that need to be painted, because we're that in between. RestorFX is in between paint correction and body shop, and then dent work is like the competition of body shops. So our customers end up loving us so much because we're saving them money, saving them time, doing these things. Whenever they need paint work, they're always coming to us first, right?
Yes.
So you see yourself turning down a ton of work, and then you're like, well, I have relationships with some body shops and stuff like this, so let's try it out. I've owned a body shop. I've been painting cars most of my life, so I'm more in love with that, right? So that's definitely one of the bigger services that we're bringing on to the company, and we're doing it now.
Body shop.
I'm not going to say so let's say body shop, but we're turning it into. We got to be different. So it's called micro repairs or fast track body shop, right? Something that we can get in and out, no framework, saving a lot of parts by doing push to paint, stuff like that. And then I feel like what we're able to do with that is get more retail customers on the restore side, because if we're painting a front cap or we're painting a hood, let's do the whole car in RestorFX. And really, that's what working with some of our body shops, we've talked about this on the podcast, like I'm giving the body shops the option to sell RestorFX. So I'm just 360 in that, and I'm selling RestorFX and then selling the collision paint side of that as well. So we all know there's money to be made in paint work. It's just the workforce is harder to get because you have so much competition.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about look at my city, Sacramento. There are now 3 dent repair shops, but I don't know the exact number of body shops, but pretty easily 125, and there's probably another 100 hole in the wall, do 1 car a week shops. So there's probably 200 or so, I would imagine, in the area. And so just purely looking off of that, the amount of work that flows through body shops is just astronomical compared to PDR shops. And on the flip side of that, the amount of work that I've turned down because it needs a body shop over the last 5 years is just it's probably more than I've done. And I've probably turned down more gross dollars and sent to the body shops than I have brought into my company. And when you start looking at business from a higher up perspective, it kind of doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that we're doing that. I've been talking for years and years and years. I've been podcasting for almost 5 years now and talking about how many cars go to a body shop that don't need to go there. And I think a lot of it is because like it makes they can do anything. They can solve almost all the problems.
That's what I've said that about the
we can only solve
side.
this tiny little segment of the problem. Like, oh, as long as the paint's not missing, or as long as this, or as long as that. And that's changed. I mean, like over like advanced skills seminar, having that at my shop and using tension on stuff and like all those, like we're definitely, morphing into like, yeah, we can fix pretty much anything as long as the paint's on it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of cars that don't have paint on it after they get a dent like that.
That's also the biggest issue with insurance companies, right? Like they don't want to do business with dent companies because we can only service them on a small scale, even though we know hail damage and all the stuff, right? Whenever you look at a hail or an insurance claim that comes in and it's got any type of paint damage, or you might not be able to fix that damage because of it being stretched or some unknown stuff. It's then like the insurance company's like, oh, then you're going to charge us for your work and then send it, So that's what, like, in order for us to get in front of insurance companies and get the higher dollar tickets, it's like we have to be able to service them on all scales. You said it a second ago that you walked in or we look at body shops and see how many cars that shouldn't be in there. And then we look at body shops, like I'm looking at them now, like, how many cars have been sitting there for a week before it was even touched, and it could have taken like 24 hours to fix that because it's like a small repair that that's what we're trying to specialize in. I'm seeing a lot of that at body shops because we're sending stuff like that out and it's taken forever to get done. And I'm like, well, it's like I'm being pushed like everything else in business to like get into this part of the industry, and it just kind of fits.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Like, you know what a Venn diagram is? You're familiar with that? You've heard the word maybe, but a Venn diagram or Venn diagram, basically two circles that overlap each other. Have you seen that? Like an Olympic ring, but there's just two of them, right? So you got like the one thing over here and the one thing over there, and then you like kind of overlap in the middle. So if you take three of those circles, you would have, I was thinking about this the other day. You'd have 3 of those spots and they'd be overlapping. And what we're doing now is like with PDR, we're fixing like the super minor, like like a door ding. Like there's a lot of shops aren't fixing as many little door dings because they're going to charge $1,800, and then most customers are like, "What?" And then they look at other options and they find us, right? So they're not doing too much. They're doing them. Like if they make an insurance claim and all that stuff, they'll do it. And so now we are capturing a lot of that stuff, and we're kind of molding over into like doing way more complex stuff, right? And so that's where our diagrams, our circles overlap each other, and that's where we're competition. So I would say if they're small, medium, and large, we're doing small, tiny door dings and stuff, and medium is like the smash stuff with paint still on it, and then the large stuff is like way more complex, frame pulling, replacing a bunch of parts, welding stuff on, cutting quarter panels off, stuff that you and I have no interest as of now in getting into.
Right.
And so we're doing small to medium and they're doing medium to large, I would say, but we're like overlapping each other, but we're two completely separate companies. And I find it's a very odd thing. Like this industry is changing a lot and it will continue to, but like, I think that us pushing more into that heavier side of stuff, like replacing a part or putting a fender on it and painting it, or doing a push to paint on a quarter panel. Like, I think that is probably where the industry is going. I said 10 years ago to everybody I knew that if you're not going to fix smash stuff, maybe not 10, maybe 7, if you're not going to fix smash work, you're not going to be really in business. And I think we're at that point. I mean, if you can only fix door dings or 2-inch dents and body lines are hard for you, like you're struggling. For sure.
I think the dealerships at least where I'm at, are starting to realize that. So I just acquired like exclusivity with a dealership group, And it was strictly because they were tired of getting, I'm charging them retail prices because I don't service them on a mobile side for their door dings, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, why are you charging us so much? And I'm like, well, you have a guy walking your lots fixing door dings. And let's be honest, door dings aren't what stop a sale. It's a complaint for the customer. But what's going to stop a sale is a smash fender or smash door, right? Your dent guy is not fixing it, which is okay. If he's just a door ding guy, that's totally fine. But our company can benefit you more, right? One, we have RestorFX that we're like a full stop service for them. Yeah. And they looked at each other in the meeting. They were like, well, why aren't we signing a deal with these guys and being exclusive? And it took about 5 minutes, and they fired their guy strictly because you just said it. He's only fixing the gravy stuff, and he won't even touch the other stuff, right? So that I've already seen that, and I've been waiting about 9 years now for this to happen with this dealership group, and it finally happened last week, and it's been good. And I think the hard work for us has paid off because we've been eating crap for many years, fixing the smash stuff. But that's what's going to happen, I think, in the retail world as well.
Yeah. And so I agree with you, and I'll bring us back to basically, you and I kind of starting mini body shops. Here's how I do it. I don't even know if I've talked about this on podcast, but I have a business. I have several W-2 employees. I have 5 currently. The way that I've hired people is I've basically subcontracted the work out until I got them so busy that I basically gave them no choice. I'm like, you have to come work for me. You're not a contractor anymore. You're an employee because I'm giving you so much work. Essentially, you have to come work for me. I'll have to find another contractor and split it, or I got to do something. And that's what I'm doing with the paint now too. I've just decided, okay, 4 or 5 months ago, I decided, okay, I have shop space so I can bring cars in, park them inside. It's not the end of the world. I don't have 2 spots. I can cram 10 cars in there. Not working on them, but I can get them in there at night, which I like cars being in at night because I don't have a fenced area, but I can get cars in there. So I just started saying yes to paint work. It started out as bumpers. They're like, oh, they come to me. Oh, can you fix the bumper? And it's got the corner of the bumper is all pushed in, and I would charge $200 and push it out. And I'd be like, yeah, but the paint won't look that good. It's already cracked. We don't do anything. Touch up doesn't really help. Yeah, that whole story. And I'm like, or I can just charge you $800 and I'll repaint the whole bumper. Right. And they're like, oh, okay, that's great. How long will it take? Well, I can get it done in 48 hours. I'm faster. I'm probably a little bit less expensive than a body shop. I do the calibrations. I do everything I have to do. If there's a bumper that needs a calibration, I'm calibrating. I tell them, hey, if I take the bumper off and there's a sensor, it can change the price, etc. And so I started doing that. And so now I'm subbing out paint work. And then it got into people would bring me cars, and I'm like, that's a smashed up quarter panel. I'll take the insurance claim. I'm going to write it up. We'll write it up in CCC. It's a $5,000 job. I probably couldn't even fix that dent fully. Plus there's paint missing. I give it to my guys. They do $2,000 worth of actual body work, not body filler, metal work.
Oh yeah.
To push to paint, and we get the thing to 90 to 95%, or somewhere around there. Percentages are variable, but we get it really good, really quick, and then I sub it out to a body shop. And I've done that several times, and it works. There's nothing wrong with that. The insurance company doesn't even necessarily need to know. With that, with body shops, they'll take an insurance claim and we'll come in and fix a dent for them, and they send it off. We're the subcontractor, we help them out. And so I basically flipped that around on its head. And I think you're kind of doing the same thing. And now I'm like, well, shit, I'm doing so much of that work. I wonder if I should just bring it all in house, just because then I have control over it. Then it's there every day. Then I can see it. Then I can QC it. Then I can give them expectations of what I want, and I can tell them that's not good enough. Go back and do it again. With subcontractor stuff, it's it's a little hard to do that. They are owning their own thing, and we're asking them to do it for us. And I can tell them it's not good, redo it. Sometimes, not every time, because our relationship will break down. But that's kind of where I'm at. It's like for you, it's almost like a necessity thing. And the amount of jobs that I've gotten in through the door and made money on over the last 6 months with painting it is multiple jobs a week at this point. These turned into $5,000 insurance claims,
Yeah.
I write it in Mobile Tech RX, I send it in, they convert to CCC, I say, we're going to do PDR, and I'm going to sub it out for paint. And if I get to talk to the adjuster, I tell them, and it works. It just does.
Because body shops do it to us, right? Like they get hail
Yeah.
cars in and they don't even touch them. Like they just sub it out to us, right? So I'm like, you know, how is it any different? You know, and I'm always complaining about body shops even doing that in the first place because it shouldn't. But then I'm just like, well, if you're able to do it on the PDR side, then we just need to be able to do it on the dent side. Because I had a body shop ask me that one day when I called her to replace a roof on an Expedition. And she was like, well, why do you even have this claim in the first place? I'm like, you know what? I say the same thing about y'all all the time.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Kind of like she didn't even think about it. It just clicked in her head. And she was like, yeah, you're right. So
yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah. 100%. And so, as far as a business perspective, like what you and I are trying to do to like stay busy, you know, it's a weird time right now. I feel like I've said that a lot since COVID. I feel like the last 4 years have been just wild from 2020 to now. It's just constantly changing. I would say it's just every 6 months to a year is just different market. There was a market where like dealerships had no cars and they were like, oh, I'm gonna give you that. I will not negotiate because see that car pulling in, he's probably coming to buy this one. So you want to buy it now? No, okay. Like there was that time.
Right.
Now there's the time where they have so many cars that everything's back on sale again. It's just like up and down and man, it's wild. Yeah. But trying to navigate through that is basically, as a business owner, the goal is to bring money into the big money through the door. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do every single day. And it might look different than it did a year ago, but it's the same concept, right?
It's almost like, yes, you're right, bringing money in the door, but it's also like not letting it leave the door. Like I think every person in our industry, even, you know, RestorFX centers, dent companies, everybody, we always let money leave the door. And it's the same thing as like not getting customer information, right?
Yeah.
Like if you don't get the customer's information and store that somewhere, you're missing out, because then you don't have the knowledge base to say, you know, how many customers actually came in the door that we, you know, worked on their car. We didn't, right? It's the same thing with keeping the information on how many customers leave your doors, even telling you that, hey, I'm going to get my windows tinted, or I'm going to get ceramic coating, or my wheels. You know, you start taking in all that information and you'd be surprised how much money you've let leave the door. And it all boils down to the marketing that you've done, right? Either word of mouth or spending money on marketing. Your conversion rate becomes higher whenever you start adding more services. You just have to know what service to add, right?
Exactly. That's the biggest point. A lot of us, if you're running a fairly successful business, you've been around for a long time, you have a lot of people that call you. Like you have a lot of people that reach out to you for something. It might not be exactly what you need, which is a dent with no paint missing and you know, whatever. Right. But yeah, I think once you put yourself in a position where you have a shop now, you're managing that shop and you have people fixing dents for you, you have a list of customers that come by, you have all that stuff. As you continue to grow, sometimes you don't, to be perfectly honest, like I don't always know exactly how I'm going to grow. Like there's not a great roadmap for someone going from $400,000 in PDR or $500,000 to 1.5 million. Like there's not a roadmap for that. No. And so you and I are kind of just figuring that out really. And so like my last guy, like 6 months ago, I hired a guy and brought him in, and I basically said, I'm going to give you all my work. Like you're replacing me. So I'm going to basically I'm basically the owner sales manager, essentially is what I'm doing now. And I was looking at how am I going to continually to bring revenue into the company now that I gave him all my work? And the answer, I started looking at cars differently. And the answer for this was taking on bigger jobs like this. You know, they're still making great money. Like my PDR guys are making great money doing actual metal work, which to be honest with you, most body shops aren't really doing metal working anymore.
Nope.
Right. We're trying to change that with Kiko. Like I train for Kiko and we go teach these guys how to do metal work with glue because none of them know how to do it anymore. Or they don't know how, or the old school techniques of welding studs to the car doesn't work half the time because aluminum's changed everything, and there's insulation behind it, and you got to power down the electric vehicle, all the different things, and why it makes it harder. So it's like aren't we doing this in house? Like we have this skill set. We have like we're the true metal workers now. Like the PDR guys are the metal workers. Like they don't work at body shops anymore, in my opinion. So we do all the metal work, and then we just put the finish back on. Like they get a little bit of glaze coat, which from my talking with all the shops, glaze coat. Well, I'll ask you this: a significant difference between Bondo and glaze coat.
Yeah. Yeah. So
what is it for all the people? Because I've learned this over the last 6 months as I've become like a makeshift body shop, essentially. What's the benefits? Like, why should you get to a point where it just needs glaze coat instead of putting body filler? Or
glaze coat has flexible additives to it, right? So it can flex. Bondo body filler, especially when you're filling in putting too much Bondo on a
thickness.
dent. It's thickness, and you look at the metal of cars nowadays. It was different. You go to a '55 Bel Air or any type of older vehicle, the metal was so thick. When you slammed the doors or you rode down the road, the metal didn't move. Right?
It didn't do anything.
It was stuck, right?
It was a solid sheet. Yeah.
You shake the door on a Ford F-150, and it shakes the quarter all the way to the tail light. Right. So you have Bondo on that car, and you ride past an 18-wheeler. Like the whole side of the car is flexing all the time. Right. So the Bondo is just going to crack off. That's why I tell insurance companies all the time, like, I'm not doing body work to that. Like, if they're saying I'm going to give you 6 hours of repair time on that thing, I'm like, well, it's going to take me longer than that to do actual metal work, right? Like, whether I'm doing paintless dent repair, right, or stud welding. So, like, we need more money. They're like, oh, we'll just fill it with Bondo. I'm like, well, we don't do that over here, right?
Yeah.
And all you have to do is, are you willing to warranty that? Because I'm not warranting it, right?
Yeah, they won't. Of course, they don't warranty anything.
Yeah, so you could get things. I'm doing it right now on a car that I'm about to leave this podcast and go put metal glaze on a car because I sat here for about an hour and a half and got the metal nice and flat. It's just I'm not going to sit there and nitpick every little dimple, but I'll just sand it, glaze it, prime it, and then send it to the paint shop, and it's going to be good to go.
Right, and so I am a huge proponent of paintless dent repair. Paintless dent repair will always be first. But there are a lot of cars that come to me that are already missing paint. Paintless dent repair is fucking worthless when it's already missing paint, essentially. Like, I'm not going to do a full paintless dent repair because the paint's gone. Right. And it's too much. It's not like a nick, like a little thing. Like, I'll do touch up all day. But at a certain point, nickel quarter size, like touch up, it doesn't work. It just, it looks like shit. It just doesn't work. So, or a lot of time we're doing minor collision stuff and there's scratches through the whole quarter panel, right?
Right.
We have the ability to even get really, really nasty dents to glaze coat worthy, I would say, which is basically like really like the shape of the panel is back and there's just really thick orange peel, in my opinion, or maybe like a little bit of a lower spot or whatever, where you can sand it down and put that over the top of it and then repaint it. And so that's kind of what we're achieving.
Metal glaze is also like a necessity. Almost every job that you do, even if we fix the dent 100% and you have to sand down, you have to put metal glaze because the transition from bare metal to e-coat to primer to base coat to clear coat, right? You would have to feather that thing out so far so you could keep it real small where you could just glaze it and then bring that level back down to flat and then prime it, paint it. So every car that you do, even at a body shop, if you're going to do it the right way, has to have some type of glaze on it.
Right. But a lot of like if they're doing metal work, like a repair, not a replacement, 99% of the time, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe not 99, a lot of the time they are going to put body filler
99
and glaze coat and 99. Okay, 99. Okay.
There's a reason why they have 5-gallon jugs of Bondo at body shops.
Correct. Yeah, that's okay. That's what I thought. I don't want to put I've never owned a body shop. I've never done body work myself. I've been around it my entire life because I've been in PDR since I'm 14. So I kind of understand it. Maybe not fully, but I kind of understand it. So anyways, point being, I hired the guy. I looked at how am I going to continually bring revenue into the company to keep my guys busy, because saying yes to more jobs keeps my guys busy. And I want to keep my W-2 employees busy, because if not, they leave, right? I want to keep work in front of them. Obviously, if there's a slow 1 or 2 days, they're not going to leave. But if I'm not bringing work in, it doesn't last forever, right? And so I'm saying yes to more stuff. And so that basically turns into me now. I am subbing out repaint. I am subbing out recalibrations on a literal weekly basis. I'm replacing a lot of parts. I'm doing all that type of stuff. And I'm like, dang it, I'm basically a body shop. But I'm a body shop that like looks at it. Technically, we are classified as body shops, to be fair. Like we are not, there's no paintless dent repair classification as far as I know, as far as like how the government sees us. Like we're auto body. My workman's comp is auto body. Like
Google don't even like, it's just auto body.
That's as I'm saying. So we kind of are body shops. I'm just always going to look at PDR first. Faster, better, cheaper, better for the vehicle, all that type of stuff. But when the paint's already missing, like, so now we've both, and this is like, I think a lot of people think that you and I are like super close. One, they think we live next to each other. We don't. I'm in California. You're in Louisiana. We don't talk a significant amount in between podcasts and like plan our businesses the same way, right? Like you and I have not even talked about this literally one time ever until right now.
Yeah, that's wild.
Podcast, but we're both going in the same direction, which is fascinating. And so this is what it looks like though. This is like adapting. This is growing a company. This is expanding services. This is kind of changing with how the market and how the world is changing. I mean, that's how I see it.
Like I don't know how many podcasts ago I said this, but it's like that's how we grew to where we grew, was just listening to our customers. And it's like when we're in the rustle and bustle of every day, pushing dents, selling, running a business, especially for all the smaller dent guys that might have one or two people, like you're just trying to, if you're in front of a customer, you're just trying to get back to doing whatever you're doing. So you don't really sit down and have those conversations. Corey, I'm sure you at the time now that you're in the sales managing side, you can sit down with a customer, dude, and literally like get to ask the customer, like, you know, what type of customer are they? Are they ones that want their thing perfect? You know, does the scratch bother you? Because if it does, I can take care of you now, right? And that's just what it's pushed us to do. And it's every service
and like
industry does that.
Don't understand this business that well, which is good, and it's our job to teach them. So like a customer comes in and like, I'm not trying to sell them like this solution that I've already decided for them. I'm sometimes like, if it's a 2-inch door dent, like there's an obvious solution. Like this is what it is. Like this is it. Like I'm the expert. I've talked about this. I'm the expert. You're not the expert. Take it from me. This is what you need. Here's what it costs. Right? Like you can play that game. That's fine. But sometimes they bring in a car and it's like, okay, there's a lot of options in what we can do here. Like we could just, you know, make it look better. We can do repaint. We can do insurance claim. We can do all the things, all the different routes, all the different options. And sometimes it takes a 10 or 15 minute conversation to talk to them and be like, here, I'm going to guide you through this process. Like I can do any of these things you want me to do. You just need to tell me what you want me to do, you know? And so I walk them through all that. And now that I have those options available, it's PDR and touch up. And then it's PDR and repaint, and then it's
just restore, and then you have ceramic coating, right? I said that, like jumping back to restore, I've said this to a lot of our customers because sometimes they're coming in willing to spend $2,000 on ceramic coating because that's the same quote they got down the street, and they wind up. Well, right. So that's the problem is like, because both of our businesses, our models are being able to like give the customer what they want because we have these different services. You walk into a paint correction company and that's all they do. They want to do paint correction and they want a ceramic coat. They're going to sell that customer on that, right? They're going to tell them why they need, just like we're going to tell them why they need a 2-inch dent to be fixed paintless dent repair. When they walk into our business, and this is why I love the model, is because we're not selling the customer what we want. We're selling them what they want. And it's not even what they need. It's like, you tell me what you want and here's your options. And after that, I guarantee you, they didn't even know they had that many options. Like, you know, so
and,
that's
and
what
I get sometimes it can be overwhelming and sometimes they don't want that. Like it always starts like, you know, what are we looking for? Like if some people are like, look, I just, you know, I made an insurance claim. I just want it to go away. All right, give me the claim number. It's done. Like you don't even worry about it. Like I'll solve it for you. There's those customers, and then there's the customers that are price conscious. Like I don't like. We had to test a customer today. Like I got backed into. The guy gave me $1,500. I don't want it on Carfax. I've been down that road. Whatever reason they have decided it's bad or they don't want repaint or all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, here's what I can do for that. So like I'm letting them guide me into that conversation versus me deciding for them. And we've all done that. We look at a dent and we're like, that's going to be very, very expensive. So I'm just gonna come out the gate with like, I could fix that for this price and at about 50 to 60%. But they don't know if they want that.
Right.
You know? So you gotta and go from there. But I get difficult to do that when you're running a solo, when you're by yourself just fixing dents. Like, and this is kind of like I want to be able to try to give a pathway for people. Like if you're a solo dent guy, there's so many, go back in the archives, listen to all that other shit. This is not for you. This is not going to help you. Like you bringing in cars to sublet is probably not going to be a great thing for you to do. But as you go from there and then you get another dent guy and or an office manager, you have a little shop, you start there, you get a little bigger shop, right? You start like stepping into these new roles. And like, I want to be able to give a pathway for success for the person that doesn't have a shop in a hail area, right? Like I'm never going to get hailed on ever. So like, I got to figure out how to create a $1.5 million per year shop with no hail. Right. And that's what I'm doing. Like that every year we're getting closer and closer to that number. Every month we do more and more. And it's not because I'm just only fixing dents. You know what I mean? And so I just feel like I wanted to say that, like, if you're a solo dent guy out here, like this is too big of a jump for you, in my opinion. But like, as you become a bigger business, if you would have asked me a year ago, grow past a certain level, I don't know if I would have the answer. And I honestly think like now I feel like if you want to get past $1 million a year, you're going to have to either sublet all the paint work or get into paint work with just one location. That's how I feel. Or do something else, you know, if there's no hail. And so hopefully we're kind of talking about like, you know, a pathway for you, something that you can wrap your head around. Another thing is like, it's weird too, because like our gross revenue continues to rise every month as I can push to that 1.5 to 2 million. I think my shop, my 3,000 square foot shop, can do, I think it's possible to do 2 million a year through the shop. Not necessarily everything being touched in the shop, but like with subletting paint repair, and we're doing RestorFX and replacing parts, and like we do all that stuff. I think if run well consistently, I think it could knock on the door of 2 million a year. I think it's possible. What's that?
That's awesome. I'm loving that.
I think it is. We'll see once I get there, but I know there's just lulls. There's lulls in my business, but weird, as we do these bigger jobs, like we do a lot of insurance work now. Last year we did almost none. We do a lot of insurance work. We do bigger ticket items like these $5,000 jobs that are body work and sublet. And you know, when you're subletting stuff, you make money on all the sublets too. I make money on the paint. I make money on the recalibration. I make money on the parts. I make money on when my dent guys work. Like I make money on every step of the way, to be fair. But like it honestly feels slower. Like because they're bigger ticket jobs. Like I don't have 8 customers in and out, like fixing $300 door dings, because that's the best way to make money, $300 to $400 jobs. But you gotta have your numbers under control. Like you gotta know your numbers, because if you base it off of feeling how busy or not you are, like it's not gonna work. You know what I mean?
Yep.
What how do you feel about that?
It's kind of crazy. It's how we
say don't have feelings, and then I ask you how you feel. That's what
we think alike, and it's like we don't even, like you said, we don't even talk that much, and it's just wild to me that our relationship's grown that much, and it's like it's wild how fast this stuff happens. I feel like we met last year.
2 years.
Yeah.
Right?
3.
2 years ago, yeah. 3 years ago?
3.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So man, if you haven't started, touch on like, this is like my mindset of why we started talking about this, is like it's a weird time, and I've said that, but this is like election year. Whether you Trump or Kamala to win, you thought the other person was going to ruin the country. I'm pretty convinced on that. Like, if you're a Trump guy, you thought Kamala was going to open all the borders and change all the swing states and make it so that no one ever won again, right? Or that no conservative ever won again. If you're a Kamala supporter, you think Trump is going to declare dictatorship and never let anybody. I'm being serious. Like, our our shop is a split shop politically. We're pretty chill about it, but we do talk about that stuff. So it's a weird time. Like, it just is, politically and economically, with inflation, and like, now Trump's coming in making a bunch of promises. He's going to change inflation, but he's going to add tariffs. But tariffs are a very inflationary thing in the beginning. You know, like, you can't just like tax something 50% and then expect them to move all of their facilities into America the next day. Like, that takes years. So anyways, it's a weird time. And I think people know that. And disposable income is not plentiful, I would say, necessarily, when the grocery stores feels like it's double the price. You know,
it's funny because I think it's obviously state to state, because the day Trump won, it was like, I don't think we wrote so many estimates in one day the following day of him winning, or like, no, he's gonna win, right?
I would tend to agree. I would tend to agree with that. I do think the last several months leading up to it were crazy. I think that him winning, as far as an economic perspective, is people are pro that from an economic perspective. Not that I agree with everything Trump does, but economically, I think that it's probably a better decision overall. But it's a weird time, and I think just staying the way that you have been and not changing is where you'll lose every time. And that's why we talk about all that stuff. But having a contact list, you mentioned it. I've mentioned it 1,000 times. I've talked about it. Like, that is so, so important. If you haven't done it yet, you have to start now. Our follow-up with our customers is like the biggest thing that, like, we followed up with a customer for 6 months ago today, like literally today, and it was like a $600 job. It was like a dent on a rail, and he just pushed it off. Like, he got busy, shit was crazy. Like, we reached back out to him, hey, just like, it's been several months since we reached out to you. We still had you on our list. Did you ever get your dent fixed? He's like, actually, no, and it still bugs the shit out of me. Can I bring it in tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah, sure. You know, like, I'll move some stuff around and make it work. But like, follow up, dude, that's $600 came out of nothing.
Right.
Like, I didn't spend any extra money, all that stuff. Like, I have an office manager. He follows up with people. We keep him in a CRM because you can't do it on your cell phone. You'll fail every time. It's not possible.
Yep.
And man, contact list, follow up, adapting, focusing on numbers over feelings. Those are the keys.
Yeah. That's all
the four keys, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep.
What else you got?
Man, I don't know, man. It's been a long year.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like excited to start a new one, but at the same time, it's like, you know, we have no breaks. It's like, whenever you're trying to grow a business, you know, you know how I am. I'm trying to grow something super fast. So
you do, dude. You don't mess around.
You know, you ask for a break at some point. It's like, you really can't, because you have so much overhead and you have so many moving parts. You just kind of push through it. But I think, like, RestorFX this year, we definitely had a decline in dealership stuff. Some of the dealerships are starting to run really tight, where they're seeing the amount of money that they've spent with us. So this is either going to go one or two ways. They're either going to realize, you know, how much of a benefit RestorFX is, and see their sales go down, even though they're trying to save money on not giving us as many cars. So I got pushed into this a long time ago with putting all my eggs in one basket with one company. So, you know, I've always said I'd never let that happen again. So, like, this year, we're really pushing for retail to happen. So, with adding all these services,
RestorFX, or just retail for everything.
Retail RestorFX.
And
we're also trying to get the quality. Like, you know, I'm always trying to push my guys for the quality to be better and better. Not that it's bad. It's just like, I think that things can always be better.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're really pushing that. I think that all the services that we have and are going to be offering next year is going to be able to drive that without any extra marketing. So I'm excited to see how that business model is going to run for the next year.
Do you have
Hopefully,
targets, like numbers you're trying to hit?
it's kind of hard for me to target. Like, like this year was our best year in business, obviously, because we had some hailstorms hit. So looking at those
numbers,
you gotta
cancel. Like, you gotta take those out of the numbers now. That's
I want the time in the break throughout before the end of the year to run those numbers and say, hey, this is what we did Xing, hail. But then you have to look at it like we let a lot of jobs go because of the hail. So like, how much did we lose? Number wise. So it's really hard.
Yeah, because you're making a trade off. You're like, I'll take the $6,000, $8,000 hail car instead of some door dings.
Yeah, like we're not even reaching out to customers from 4 months ago. Like we will obviously because we have them in the CRM, but during the hailstorm,
when it's slow, we
were not reaching out to customers for door dings. We were like, we don't even. Those are a burden right now, just to deal with. So. I'm just looking forward to seeing
that's the pros and cons of hail for sure. No doubt about that. It really is. Yeah. Well, that's cool to hear. I mean, I wanted to bring this up too, actually, when you said we were talking about RestorFX. There are RestorFX competitors are coming. They are coming. Besides Iron Rock Clear, that's not even a competitor necessarily, I don't think. But Ceramic Pro introduced a new product called Matrix. And it is a 2-part clear that adds clear to the vehicle. There's some rumors going around about it. I'm not 100% sure what they are, but it's a similar product. It's from what the research I've done, it's not RestorFX that is being white labeled for those rumors that have gone around that I've heard because people have called me and told me that. That's not true, but they're coming. The competition is coming. And so that's gonna be interesting. I think RestorFX is the best product and they're furthest ahead. And I think their emphasis on the amount of prep work needed to make it work is very important. We have a competitor in our market now that a touch-up company that has like a wipe on clear. And they just wipe it on at the dealer. They're like, yeah, it's $200. I just wipe it on. And it's the same as RestorFX. And like, it's not the same as RestorFX.
No,
it's not. Because if you took RestorFX and wiped it on a car with dirt on it with no prep, it would boil like water with bubbles. You know what I mean? It would it would just react. So it's not the same. Maybe it's an option for dealerships and it's cheaper and quicker and it still makes stuff shiny-ish.
I tell you, that's what I'm scared about the industry growing like that. I don't know if we've talked about that before, but it's like, man, RestorFX, dude, if you put that on a panel, and for some reason a week later you're like, oh man, I just want to remove that. It's not happening, buddy. It could, but it's going to take you a really long time and it's going to burn through a lot of money and time to do it. Yeah. So like, my problem with all these competitors, as they come in, it's like I really hope that they do it the right way, because competition is good competition. And RestorFX is so far ahead.
Not everyone will always do it the right way. It's never going to happen.
I know that.
However, if you keep doing things the right way, it will come around to benefit you. In my opinion, just like the dealership that you got from doing smash work, because they finally realized maybe they were saving money on the day-to-day on the door dings and stuff, but in the end, that's not what it's about. I believe that the quality is going to always win in the end, in the long term. And if I'm charging $500 to $600 for a RestorFX car and someone comes in for $200 and it's a shittier product, I'm fine with that. I don't like it. I'd rather do them all, but there is a difference. You're paying less for a lesser product, and we got to let the free market decide that bad boy. We got to let the free market.
I hope that the products like intertwine with each other, because if we get a job from another company that puts something else on it that's not RestorFX and it looks like crap, I hope that it's easy enough to repair or fix that problem with what we have.
Yeah, I mean, I think between acetone and sanding, we've run into stuff like that from a local company, the touch-up company who wipes that stuff on. We've looked at a couple cars, seen all the scratches, brought them in, and realized after we put it under our lights, like, oh shit, that's why it looks funny, because they wiped something on there 2 weeks ago. But it's not RestorFX. It's not like permanently adhered to the vehicle like RestorFX. So it's not as big of a problem to take off.
Right.
So far. Anyways, I hope that helped.
Yeah.
Get through weird economic time, follow up, contact lists, and change with the times. I mean, you just have to. You can't keep doing it the way you do it and expect everything to be the same. So,
no.
That's what I got.
Keep it up.
All right, man. We will talk next month when we get on the podcast. No, maybe before that.
All right, buddy.
All right, brother. See ya.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Masters of Recon podcast. If you're getting value from this podcast, then please subscribe to the show and give us a review so others can find our show as well. And if you haven't joined the discussion yet, then go find us over at Masters of Recon Facebook group to join the weekly discussion. See you all next time.